Hey, gun people. I'm going to talk about the difference between probable cause and getting something to court, because there's a big difference between the two, and a lot of people don't realize that. I also wanted to show you this neat little gun I picked up. Little 22 Derringer, 99 bucks. Got him a nice little one of my little bullets came out here. Little 22 long Derringer. It's got a safety. I don't keep the safety on. It's got a hack cough safety. If you leave, when you get a Derringer, if you leave the hammer all the way down and you bump this, it'll fire the round. So most of them have a little half cock. So I keep this at a little half cock, and I mean, it carries perfect right here in this little pocket. So if you have a little old coin pocket or something, they'll usually fit right in there. But I mean, I just stuck it in the bike, figured if I'm ever out cruising around, then at least I got a gun on me. But anyway, probable cause. When a cop arrests a bad guy, all he needs is probable cause. Now there's articulable suspicion, there's an investigative stop, there's reasonable suspicion. All those are considered a little lower than probable cause. Probable cause, as I said in the other video, it's that set of facts or circumstances that would lead a reasonable person in the same position with the same amount of training or knowledge to come to the same conclusion. And that's kind of the gist of probable cause. So, probable cause, for a cop to arrest, I need probable cause to believe a crime was committed and you committed it. That's all I need. Not much. I mean, I don't need a confession, I don't need all that. All I need is a basic, do I think there was a crime, do I think you committed it? I mean, domestic violence, I show up, woman's bleeding out of her eye, you're the husband, you don't say any statement, she says, we were in a fight and he hit me. That's probable cause, I can arrest you. Now, do I need more than that to get a conviction? Yeah. I can't get a conviction just on that one statement and that one thing. So, when cops, there's cops that do good cases and they give good cases to the DA's office so they can run with the prosecution and not do. And then a lot of times when cases or charges get to the DA's office, the DA has two options. He can either kick it back to the agency and said, you need to do some more investigation, I don't have enough to prosecute this, or, now they're starting to dig in that farm, so if you hear the noise, sorry, they're cutting a pasture or something way over there. Sound's coming right over. So, or if he kicks it back to the agency, he knows the agencies are overstrapped and they're like, hey, I don't care. I already got the arrest for the stat, it's your job to prosecute. Don't make me do your job. If you need more for conviction, then go out and do it. So the DA will normally have DA investigators, and that's where I did a lot of my years in DA investigation. So when you work for the DA's office, you learn how to look at a case a little bit more in depth or deeper. So what the prosecution needs in order to file a case, they can file it on a probable cause. But they may not go to court on it. They may file it thinking I can get a plea for a lower included offense, or I can get a guy to plea to this and I'll give a really low sentence, or if I get him to plea to this, I'll just give him probation and he won't go to jail because the case is weak. Now a good defense attorney will go, man, if this is your case, we'd rather go to trial because you ain't going to win. I'm not taking your deal. But because the DA's office and the prosecutor and the defense, and they're all lawyers and they're all in the good old boy, and they know they just got to go to work and get paid and do their job, what the hell, he's guilty, he's lucky, he gets probation, yeah, let's cut the deal. So, obviously if you're paying a lawyer, he's probably going to fight more and not take that deal. Now there's some good public defenders who get paid by the state who wouldn't do that, but there's some that don't care. So the level for a DA to charge and take something to trial is higher than probable cause. We have to believe that, the DA that charges has to believe that we can put this case in front of a jury and get a conviction. And in order to get a conviction on a case, we need to prove to the jury beyond a reasonable doubt and above a moral certainty that this guy did it and this was a crime. So that's a higher burden than probable cause. It's actually considerably higher. So what a lot of cops do is they don't really know this or care about this. All they care about is the problem at the hand and the problem at their shift. All I got to do is find enough to arrest you. I can book you and get you to jail and I'm done with you. Then when the DA gets it, he's going to dismiss it, not charge it, say, hey, you know, maybe I'll charge it, see if he'll plead. If he doesn't plead, then I'll dismiss it for the interest of justice, whatever. But that higher level of cause is what's, if you want to be a good street cop and if you want to be a cop, you want your case, what I call clean and complete, when it goes to the DA's office. You want to do everything you can so the DA doesn't have to do anything. He'll read it. And then you'll get a reputation of being a good cop, doing good cases, doing good work. So, back to the domestic violence. Show up to the scene, eyes bleeding. She says, he did it, he's my husband. We're in a dating relationship. We've been dating for 6 months, whatever. You're under arrest. I can be done right there. But other things I can do is I can do a neighborhood canvass. I can go knock on neighbors. Have you heard him fight before? Have you ever seen him hit him before? What's their relationship? Does he have a violent temper? Oh yeah, he went to anger management. Oh yeah, he drinks all the time. Oh yeah, he got in a fight with this neighbor over here. So I can get all this additional information to make the case cleaner. I can take pictures of the eye. I can call an ambulance for her to get help. I can ask her if she'll consent to release of her medical records, see how many times she's had injuries. I can do all this additional information to make the case easy to put in front of a jury and to get a conviction. So the DA is more likely to file. So if cops care about the case filing and getting this guy good time, they'll do extra work sometime. If they don't care and they just want to get the guy off the street, hey, I got my PC, I'll do my PC deck, my probable cause deck, saying this is what happened, I arrested him, I'm done, I'm covered, I'm out. I don't have to do any more. I can go have my coffee, donuts, whatever I need to do. So, I just did a video on where this cop shot this guy and there was a crime scene and there was just horrible crime scene control. The Cincinnati, Ohio shooting where the cop shot the guy in the head on a traffic stop. And he was just indicted for murder. So, I'm getting a lot of questions like, you know, they did this, they did that, they did that wrong, they were Barney Fife, well, look, they're not looking at a case from a prosecution stance. When you work for the DA's office, after you end up cleaning up all these cheap PC decks from sloppy cops, you learn what cops are crappy and what cops don't give a shit and what cops just didn't know, and you kind of learn who's giving you reports, and when you see a report you can almost say, hey, who did this? Now, in Sacramento, when we arrested for a felony, they had what's called a charging DA, and they were senior supervisor DAs. And they would not charge and they wouldn't take your report unless you presented the case to them. And I like this because it really made you do a good report. Because there's nothing worse than go in there and have some smart-ass attorney sitting behind a desk going, what about this, what about this, what about this, I ain't filing, go back and get it. You're just like, mother. So it made you do really good cases, so you could go in there, here's my case, he'd answer all his questions, goes, okay, good, I'm filing it, and you're done. So having a charging DA do that and making cops come, now what California Highway Patrol do is they would have all the reports if they arrested any felonies and put in a pile, and then one officer would come in the morning, he'd gather all those reports, and he would go file them, and he would try and answer the questions, but he wasn't there and he didn't know. So, but on the task forces, we had to present our own cases. If I had a felony dope case, I'd have to go in there and present it. If I had a felony auto theft, I'd have to go in there and present it. If I had a chop shop, I'd have to go in there and present it. You know, if there was a gang shooting or something and I was working, I had to go in and present that case if I booked the guy and make my case in front of the DA. And what that causes me to do is the DA is there is like, he's thinking, I've been there, done that, I've been in court, I've gotten plenty of shitty reports, I know what that's going to be asked, I know it's going to be suppression issues, I know what's going to be issues in court. So he looks at this report and he goes through it, and all these questions come to mind. And when he reads something, he's like, oh man, I can see the defense asking this, or I can see the judge saying, what about this? So he does all those questions and he gives it back to you. Now sometimes I'd have to present for another officer who was off or something. He'd make a felony arrest, he'd go, hey dude, can you present this case in the morning? So I would read the case and I'd say, what about this, what about this? I'd ask him questions about it. If I had questions on it, I'd go through what I think I needed, and I'd say, okay, I'll present your case in the morning. So he would be off. The next morning, I'd go in the DA's office. I'd give him the case. Hey, I'm not the arresting officer. I talked to the officer, and I'm going to go ahead and talk through the case if you got any questions. So he'd go through it. He'd ask me some questions. I'd answer it, and he'd be okay, fine. Now, if I didn't think I could present a case and get it past the DA, I'd say, dude, this report sucks. I'm not presenting this. But the guys I worked with, we were all pretty much on the same level. We did good reports, so we knew that if one of us handed something off, it was going to be a pretty good case. Plus, we did it all the time. The more you do something, the more you know what holes, and you know how to, it becomes a checklist kind of thing, and it's easy. But there's a big difference between a cop arresting on probable cause and a DA getting a conviction above a moral, above a reasonable doubt and above moral certainty. Now, the difference between that standard and civil standard is civil and criminal, and I can't remember if I did another video on this night. Criminal standard is preponderance of the evidence, which is basically tipping the scales. So when you go to civil court, you don't have to have a whole bunch of evidence. All you got to do is if the scales are 51 to 49 tipped in your way, you win. So all you have to do is have just a little bit more information than the guy you're going against, and you win in civil court. But in criminal court, the scales have to be, hey, beyond a reasonable doubt and above a moral certainty, this is absolute true. And we still get bad convictions. There's still things overturned. A lot of the overturns are because of court cases and interpretation and definition of words, and some court made a, San Francisco nice circus court, they're just a joke, so they overturned everything. So everything they overturned, we'd have bad case law for a while until it got overturned, but those are other issues. But anyway, so just understanding that just because somebody's arrested or you do something that's arrestable does not mean that you're going to get convicted. There has to be a good bit of information to get somebody a conviction. Now, if it's a simple crime, like running a stop sign, the officer says you ran a stop sign, you say you didn't, they have to believe one, they're going to believe the officer's done. I don't think some states even let you go to a jury trial with traffic. Some states do. California, I don't think you go to traffic. You can't get a jury for a traffic offense unless it was a felony. So I guess I just wanted to cover that. I got some questions kind of like on why I was being so particular on that crime scene for the Cincinnati shooting. They weren't securing it. They weren't taking video. They weren't taking pictures. They weren't marking evidence. They weren't taping off the area. They weren't keeping people out. They weren't keeping. They just did so many things, and some of the people were like, "Dude, you're kind of hard on them. Why are you picking on them?" It's just I'm looking at it from later when I present or get this case in court. If I'm the investigating officer and I come back, and it helps the cop that's being charged now for murder. All those things that weren't done right now helps him get off. It's going to make it harder for them to get a conviction on him. Where was your chain of custody? Who moved the car? Why did you move the car? Who asked him this question? Did anybody tell him he had a right to remain silent? Did anybody tell him he was a suspect? Why are you taking all these statements? And they're going to say they were all spontaneous statements and they didn't ask him. But those are other court issues. Just know the difference between a probable cause arrest is very low and you need minimum to put somebody in jail, but the DA needs a lot more to put it in front of a jury. So we'll end that there on probable cause and getting a conviction.